Test 1, 2. All right. All right, so just a short one today. We're gonna follow up on the last video that I released, full-length video a few days ago, about the way I play, about thumb strumming, I guess we're gonna call it. Hello, Jose. So it's not a traditional finger pick, okay? All right, so it's not a traditional finger pick in the sense of something like, you know, Travis, compared to what they call the Travis. But I had a few questions about that. If you were to do the inner Google on the Travis finger picking system, you know, it's pretty straightforward, but I found it a little complicated from where I was at that time. Like you, many of you here had only been playing for less than a year or around a year. It was kind of a while ago, so I'm not 100% sure how long I had been playing, but it wasn't very long. And I told you the story before about why I got rid of my pick at that time, and it was just because I just felt like it was just too loud. You know, like the picking was just too loud. And it didn't sound right for me. Okay, now I can guarantee you I'm actually picking a lot harder than you're hearing it because of the whole processor, mixer, internet thing. It kind of tends to mellow things out by the time it gets to the end user, but it's pretty harsh. And I didn't like it. And I would go out somewhere and I'd watch someone play and they were just, you know, and I used to go like, how are they doing that? All right, well, not that we're going to get into it in this video, but how they're doing that is just simply time. The more you play, it's like anything you do. The more you do it, the smoother and easier it will sound like and become. And that's just the way it is. Like when we don't have to think about things, we've done it a million times, we just do it. And furthermore, because we don't have to think about what we're doing, we can now think about how to make what we're doing without thinking about it even better. All right, so we do still use our brain power, but we don't worry about getting the job done. We can already do that without our brain. Now we're using our brain to kind of refine, you know, and that's just the normal evolution of guitar playing. You will not pick up a guitar and within a few months sound like, you know, you've been playing for 20, 30 years. It just doesn't work that way because you got to earn it and you got to put in the repetition. So finger picking came to me because I didn't like the way my pick sounded, okay? All right, now I've got videos about how to make your pick sound better and your strumming sound better and wrist rolling and different gauges of picks, and by all means check them out because you really do need to be able to play proficiently with a pick. It's important for a lot of reasons. First of all, People can't hear you with your fingertips. So for volume, especially if you're not plugged in, people can't hear you. So there's always going to be that volume aspect, right? But finger picking is a really nice way to do it. Now, again, getting back to the Travis picking thing, when I researched it, I was a little put off because as I said, I'd only been in about a year or so at the time, and I didn't have enough experience to fully understand what Travis picking was and the process. And basically, there are rules in that each finger and thumb is numbered. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And each number is associated with a string or strings. And I'm pretty sure that the thumb controls these two strings here, the two lowest bass strings. And then your next finger controls, and then your next finger has this one, and I think it's something like that. And there's nothing wrong with it. If you can get your head around that, that's fantastic. I couldn't. It was too much, like I always tell you, it's too much thinking, right? And when I say, don't follow me when I'm picking out a G chord. Don't slow it down and try to find out exactly what string I'm playing. Because if you do that, I mean, it's hard enough with tabs, but if you do that, you're going to drive yourself really mad. Because it's hard to follow. And then you're thinking, okay, I gotta hit string 6. 1, 2, 5, 6, 1, 2, 5, 6, 5, 2, 4, 6, 5. Enough already. All right? So again, I'm going to take you through the process of what I do. So the Travis picking, you have that assignment of strings. So if you want to pick something out, these fingers play the appropriate strings if and when you want them to. I just took that and simplified it because I didn't want to have to really worry about these 3 fingers here for now, right? I thought, well, I can come back to that later. But reality is you really don't, right? So, but that's okay. So I started out by using just this one finger and one thumb. That's it. So it looks like this, okay? Now, I'm using a G for an example. If you play your G like that, it's the exact same thing. I just can't do that very much because of wrist pain. So I play my G this way. I just find it more relaxing on my wrist. So as you can see, I wonder if I can zoom right in here. Let's see. Let's zoom right in and see what that looks like. What do we got going on here? All right, so now I'm going to try to... There we go. About here? Okay. So look. You can see my thumb and my forefinger, or is it index finger? First finger, pointer finger, are doing all the work. So when I want to go and pluck out a higher note in that chord, I'll use my finger up. Right? And when I want to pluck with this finger one of these lower strings, it's always up. So the thumb is always down and the finger is always up. The only exception to that, right, would be when I rake down with the finger or rake up with the back of the thumb. So back of the fingernail to go down. Sometimes, like when you get good at it, you'll flick. It's a flick. Get away from me, bug. Get away, bug. Right? Okay? And likewise, when I'm coming up, it'll be a flick like this. So this is how I would finger pick my G. C, D, C, E minor, C, D minor, A minor, C. That's the action. So I don't use, even though it may look like it, I'm not using any other fingers on the string set, just these two. And again, that differs from the Travis picking, because the Travis picking mandates certain fingers assigned to certain strings. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. Down the road, you'll find that the Travis picking style is probably more efficient, especially when you want to start playing quicker, because, even if it's barely noticeable, it's going to take you time for this one finger to have to, if you wanted to play different things. But to compensate for that, I bring my thumb down. So in Travis, you can only, I think it's just these two with your thumb, but I come down here and play this. I'll even come down and play the last one if I have to, which is the first string. So it's kind of it's kind of like a jimmy-rigged way of finger picking. But it works for me. I feel comfortable and I feel confident. And I can play fast or I can play slow. I can dig in if I have to. Now, I'm not a nail grower or anything like that, okay? But since I've been getting pretty proficient with guitar and using a lot of finger picking, I have made a conscious effort to kind of let my thumb and my first fingernail grow out a bit, okay? And then I keep them, at a, I don't like these big long things. You don't need that. Basically, the longer your nails, then the more of a touch that you need, okay? Because remember, you're going to get that sort of sharp sound out of your nails, right? So you're going to have to compensate for that. I like using just that corner of my thumb where there's a little bit of nail and the side of the flesh, which after a while will get hard. When I started playing with my thumb like this, right? Hi, James. When I started playing with my thumb like this on the side, it hurt. After a few days, I was really sore. And I remember one time in particular, we were outside at like a festival thing, and we were playing outside, and I was just like hours of just playing along and doing what I can. And the next thing I know, like my thumb was sore, and I looked down, I got this big white blister on the side of my thumb. So I had to stop and pick up my pick again. But that only happens till you get toughened up. Just like your fingers on your fretting hand, right? When they were sore and painful and burning and stuff, and you're like, how am I going to do this? And you just plug through it. And the next thing you know, it just doesn't hurt as much anymore. And then the next thing you know, you got this kind of hardened skin forming. And the next thing you know, you don't even feel your fingertips at all. And it's the same thing with your thumb for those of you that are going to start strumming with the side of your thumb like this. But so again, just to recap, we're going to get in a second, we're going to get into what notes we actually play. But I just want to make sure that we've got this down, or my style down, which is thumb for downs. Though I do, the odd time I will pick, but it's harder doing it that way. Thumb down, finger up. Thumb down, finger up. Thumb down, finger up. So now we put some speed to it. And we've got different combinations of how we can do things. So then the next piece of the puzzle is what notes do I play? Okay, now for this explanation, we're going to turn to the technique known as arpeggiating. Now, I've said this so many times. If you were to run to the inner Google right now and punch in how to play arpeggios, you'll probably get what looks like a scale diagram. You're going to get a fretboard and you're going to get all these dots. And it's going to kind of look like a scale. All an arpeggio are the 3 notes of the chord, the triad of the chord. Every chord is 3 notes. That's it. 1, 3, and 5. 1, 3, and 5. Those are the notes of the scale. So in G, 1 note is G, right here. The 3, we skip the A, is 2. 3 is B, right here. We skip the C and we go to D. So therefore, the triad of the G chord is G, B, and D. Now, if it's a 7th chord, then we go to the 7th note, and we add that. Okay? So that's all it is. But we're just dealing with major and minor chords, right? So 1, 3, and 5 is a major triad. 1 flat 3 and 5, okay, which is the 3. So in this case, G would be G, B, and open D. Those 3 strings would be the G major triad. If we wanted to turn this into a G minor, then all we have to do is find the 3rd note, which is B, and flatten it by 1, which means move it down that way. So therefore, your G, instead of being played like this, you'd probably replace this finger with this finger, and you'd play it like that. There's your G minor. G minor, G major, G minor, G major, okay? That's called the triad. Now, when we arpeggiate, that's all we're playing. So then your next question is going to be, okay, but how do I know where those notes are? I don't know anything about my fretboard or scales or anything like that you're talking about. Perfect. Because this is how you do it. When you play any open chord, whether it's G, C, D, A minor, E minor, any open chord. And an open chord means that there are open strings in that chord. So once we play a bar chord, there are no more open strings. Every string is covered by the bar or by the fretted notes in front of the bar. When we play a triad, for example, if we play this triad here, which I believe is an A minor, okay? Once we do that, we have no open strings because we're only playing the 3 strings that we are fretting. We're not playing these open strings, so there's no more open strings. The only chords that open string... Now, but just before I say this next thing, when you start getting creative, you'll realize that I'm playing an A minor here, okay? So maybe I can play this chord here, or this string here, instead of starting on the A. And it is possible because we have an E in the A minor chord already fretted. So if we play an extra E, it's not the end of the world, but it will change the voicing. It'll be a bassier E in the thing, but it's still, you're playing the same 3 notes, but you're playing 2 E's, an A, and in this case a C. All right, so I don't want to confuse you, but let's just stick to 3 notes is all you can play with a triad. So these are no open chords because there's no open strings. Now, let's get back to that G. There are how many open strings in this chord? Fretted, fretted, open, 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 fretted. Now, some people play 2 fingers here on this end of the G, so let's see what we got here. We got fretted G, fretted B, open D, open G, fretted D, and fretted G. You put them all together and they are G's, B's, and D's. That's all they are. There's no A's, no C's, no B flats, nothing. Just G's, B's, and D's. And two of them, if I strum it this way, three of them are coming from open strings. D, G, and B. D, G, and B are open within the 6 strings of the chord. 3 fretted, 3 open. Therefore, it's called an open chord. The same with C, there's 1 open string. A minor has 1 open string. And this string here has 2 open strings, right? You see what I'm saying? Every open chord is called an open chord because it has an open string that plays the note, one of the notes of the triad, and nothing else. All right. So, when we arpeggiate an open chord, we don't have to know which note is the D, which note is the B, which note is the whatever. We don't have to know. Because every note played is either or one of those. Now we can use our ear to decide which one we want to play. So if I'm playing G, right? Just want to see if you can get... So if I'm playing a G, I'm going to pluck maybe G, D, G, B, D, D, G. Or I might pluck G, B, D, 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 D. Or I might pluck G, B, B, G, B, G, G, B, G. Or I might pluck G, B. Right? I can, whatever my ear tells me I need and what sounds the best. So I could play this G finger style in multiple ways. I could play it like this. Or I could play it. I think you get it, right? And it's the same with the D. I can play it any way I want. Or I could just play. I don't have to think about it. As long as I stay within the 4 strings that are in that chord, or the 6 strings, or the 5 strings. So that's what makes it good. Hi, Ernest. So that's what makes it easy and doable. I don't have to worry about what notes and where they are. I can play instinctively any string in that chord. Now, again, I use only these 2 appendages, thumb and first finger. That's it, which is different to Travis. Travis picking, you're using all of them. And you're using all of them in a controlled way. Like, you don't come up with this finger here and take a bass note. You don't do that. Where the way I play, with only using the 2, I do use my first finger to pluck those high notes, and I'll even come up and grab one of the bass notes here. All right? So it's a different style. I'm sure there's other people that play like this. I don't think it has a name, but it's not Travis picking. Some people ask me about, can you teach me the Travis picking that you use? I don't use Travis picking. I use kind of or a different short or a different version of that, okay? So, again, by putting it all together, we can, right? Now, the one thing that you do kind of want to do, especially in your practice routine, is you want to make sure that you always play the bass note of the chord first. The bass note is the bass root note, the lowest root note. So, for example, on D here, we have a root note right here on my ring finger. It's the D. But that's not the bass note, the lowest note. The lowest D comes from the open D right here. Right here. That other D is up. So you might want to, as a habit, get into a habit of plucking that bass string. This is called a bass strum. You can do this with a pick as well. This isn't finger related. Right? if I'm playing an A minor, if I'm playing an E minor, if I'm playing a D minor, pick out that bass note first. So I try to do the same when I'm using my thumb. So that doesn't change. What changes is what finger and fingers I use to pick the other notes. And for me, it's just this one again. So there's that flick. So that's that way. That's doing that with the pick. I'm just using my finger, right? Okay. All right, so that is basically what I'm doing, right? I'm combining some side of my thumb. I got another video coming out probably tomorrow that will explain all this so that you can have it for future reference. It's not that difficult, but it does take a little bit of work, like anything on guitar, right? When the first time you do something on guitar, it doesn't really sound that great. And then the more you do it, you work yourself into a routine. So the other thing that I guess people ask me about is that palm mute. So I'm just going to go over that again. I guess somebody researched it and found that it was described as a karate chop. And I don't really agree with that. Okay, so let me just move back a little bit here. What they're saying when you read about this, the karate chop, it's an how would you say it? It's a way to explain what it is. So they're saying put your karate chop in front of the bridge here. Now to me that's too far back, okay? But they say karate chop here and then just collapse your hand and start your playing, whether it's, let's say it's with a pick, right? So I find that to be a little rigid and confining, okay? So I think what you really want to do is you want to create a sense of feel and touch between your side of your palm and the strings. So I don't go back here because I play over the sound hole. So, like, I think you should, you know? Now, yes, this makes your guitar sound different because you're lengthening the string, right, a little bit. Just like this makes it sound duller because you're closer to the notes that you're strumming. And as you move back, if I'm right here at the bridge, you get a completely different sound as well. I like to be somewhere in here, but that's completely preferential. Like, that's up to you, right, with what you're trying to achieve. Yeah, Kevin, it is. It's a great style for exactly what it is. And that's when I realized one of the things that was holding me back from learning the guitar was too much memorizing. Too much memorizing tabs and shapes and notes and counting and not counting and all this kind of stuff. It was too much. And when I just decided to play, that's why I always say at the end of all my videos, just play your guitar, because that's all I'm doing. I'm not sitting down going, okay, now to play a G, I got to play this. No, I'm just forming the G and bashing around, seeing what it sounds like, okay? And when you come up with something that sounds good, and you break it down, I'm not saying to do it, but if you broke it down, you're going to find you were right on, theory-wise. You just didn't know it. You went by your ear, and your ear said, these are the right notes to play. So when you look at it and go, okay, what am I playing here? And you analyze it, you're going to realize, oh yeah, like I played the right notes. I just depended on my ear, not a piece of paper that I'm staring at or memorizing from. So this is kind of the same thing. Once you just let your hand go, knowing now that all you need to know is you don't have to know what the notes are, you just have to know what strings you can play or can't play. And if you just stick to that, use your ear, and you're going to find out, right? So the other thing, the palm mute thing is not something, once you start using it, you won't stop using it. It's that kind of a thing, right? I think what you need to probably understand is that it's not something that you do need to use all the time. So use it sparingly, but it can be really powerful. And it does a couple of things. It just reins everything in, and it's almost like a compressor. So a compressor, you put a compressor on a vocalist, for example, and what happens is when they go wah 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 wah, and the meter goes up, and then they go ba 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 ba, and the meter goes down. When you put a compressor on, the singer is still going to go up and down, but the meter stays within a middle, so you don't really get those highs or those lows. It keeps everything even. So think of your palm muting as like a compressor. So instead of getting, all these like low, high, you put a palm mute on it, and it's all going to sound pretty much even. You can still make them distinct by backing off the palm mute and maybe strumming the note a little harder, but you can hear the difference from this without a palm mute to this, like without a palm mute. With a palm mute. Without. Right? You can tell the difference. And especially live, like especially if you're not in behind all the walls of compression on the internet, if you're just sitting in front of me and listening to my guitar, you will really hear, like I hear now, the difference, like between the high trebly strings and the low bassy strings. The distinction isn't as different, and that's usually a good thing, okay? Sometimes you want it, but that's when you would back off of the palm mute and let those trebles ring out or the bass thump out. So the palm muting, the way I do it is I constantly have my rubbing the strings like this. I constantly have a palm. And I just back it off when I want some volume. Right? Okay, so I shall be back in 1 second. All right, hold on a second. All right, thank you. Yep, thanks. Sorry about that. I just had to pick something up from the front door there. So again, the palm muting is, you can't overuse it, but you shouldn't overuse it, if that makes sense. But it should always be there ready to implement. And whether you're playing with a pick or not, no matter how you play, the palm mute it helps with separating. You notice how those chords sounded separated? And sometimes you want that sound. That's palm muting. Yeah, so a slap is basically, all right, so it's hard for me to do it and talk about it, so I'm just going to do it. Just let me get into a groove. So now if I'm not using a pick, now I'm going to try it in different. Okay, so this is like the bass slap, right? Slapping the bass would be like this. And you can do the same with your acoustic. So what I'm doing is I'm playing that G, and then I'm slapping it to stop it. So I showed you the both ways. One is like the hand slap, right? And the other one was like the bass, like the slap bass with the thumb. Now you can make different noises by slapping on different strings, right? So in that case, you're not going for volume control or to rein things in. You're really just going for the immediate effect of killing the chord and adding something percussive to your chord progression. So it kind of be like putting on a drum pedal and letting it go. Boom, 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 right? But you're doing that with your thumb. So if it was going boom, 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 right? So that's a drum pedal and you're just strumming. So you're just doing it yourself. Boom. Okay, so that's the difference. They have the same effect, but the palm mute you can use as a volume control. And again, just a way to kind of compress everything together so that you don't have all these chords ringing out, bleeding into each other. Now, yes, even though when you play a G and it's ringing out and then you switch to a C, well, that's going to override the G, yes. But there are times where, let's say you got your G ringing out, as you're making your transition to C, that G is still ringing out. And sometimes that's what causes the no seams and the kind of like it just one flows into the other, which is usually the way you'd play. But sometimes you don't want that. You just want that distinct, right? Let the last one ring out. Right, as opposed to you want to do, right? So there's your kill switch. There's your kill switch. There's your volume knob. So again, this is especially for pick players. When you finger style pick, volume isn't usually an issue, meaning you're never going to really get overly loud unless you're plugged in and you've got long nails and you're really raking those nails over there. So I can play without a pick and still be loud, right? So a lot of people, when I played more live, they would say, where do you keep your pick? I see you using a pick, but I don't see your pick anywhere. And the answer is I wasn't using a pick. So what I was doing was putting my thumb and forefinger together. So when you look at me on the fly, it looks like I'm holding a pick. Right? So you can do that, and I can get some volume. Now, sometimes that gets harsh, so I just add the palm just to kind of bring everything down a notch, bring everything together. Right? So again, you can slap any way you want, right? If you're playing without a pick, the easiest way is to just get that thumb on there. And you're going to pick up, your pickups are going to pick up that thud. Just like when you're looping and you go, and that becomes a loop. It's actually coming from the box of your guitar. Now you can, it takes a while, and I don't do this very much, but you can use like a, now these are called this is called percussive strumming. Okay, so what you're doing, the other one was a percussive, the other one, as Kevin asked about, was a percussive mute. So you're actually using the mute as a percussion, but you're also killing the strings at the same time. This one is all percussion, right? And when you get there's all kinds of ways to do it. That's just giving you, I don't do it much, so I'm not that good at it. But I mean, it's one of those things that if I sat down for an hour and really concentrated and kind of got my chops up, you know, I can do some damage with it, right? But it's, you know, there's so many things. And if you don't need something, there's no sense at this point in your journey taking a lot of time learning something that you're never going to use. And again, that goes back to being a beginner from day one. And when you don't know what you're not supposed to know or do or not do, you don't know. So you do everything. You think you got to do everything. And then you end up wasting, when you add up all the hours, you're wasting weeks and sometimes months and yes, years working on things that you're never going to ever use. So in my case, the first 7-8 months of playing guitar, I must have wasted 2 months on scales. Well, why? I didn't know what a scale was. I didn't know why I'd need a scale. I didn't know the notes. I didn't know anything about scales. I played the guitar up here. The scales I was learning were down here, or down here and up here. It was just silly on my part, but I didn't know any better. Okay? Now, what I should have done is just kept playing with my chords and making my sound and getting my sound down and getting my confidence up and getting my guitar foundation, my motor skills revved up to the point where now I can start taking advantage of scales, right? So I learned this position and that position and then the third position and then that position, you know, and the amount of time I wasted is just, I'll never get that back. So again, some of these things, like we can go down rabbit holes of different types of muting, but at the end of the day, Are you ever going to need it or use it? Is it your style? And this is a specific way of playing guitar. The people, I'm sure you've seen them that do all the knocks. You know, that, I mean, you can get that, they get that going and they're like, I think we've all seen them. It's fantastic. But it's an acquired taste, and it's something that you really got to work on, and it will take you. Okay. So what you're doing there is you're specifying what's the word? Specializing in a certain aspect of the guitar playing world. Just like a doctor is a doctor, but then they might go and specify feet or hands or brain or whatever, and that's what they further on. They concentrate on that. Well, this type of guitar playing is what that is. You have to kind of say, hey, I'm gonna, and it's just my opinion, but I want to build up my knocking skills, right? It's not something you would kind of do every day. But the palm muting is, and even some of the percussive muting can really come in handy, right? Right? So it's something to know. But I think if you start out with just general palm muting, just letting your palm be in close proximities, if not just sliding on the top of those strings, just to take the edge off some of your playing, the rest kind of comes naturally because you're already there doing it. Right? You're already there doing it. So, hello, Jimmy. All right, so we've covered fingerstyle, or we are covering fingerstyle today. My fingerstyle, I don't know what it's called, but it's not Travis picking. Travis picking is when you use all your fingers and you assign them to different strings. Mine is more of a hybrid version where I just use my thumb for down and my finger for up. And the one exception is when I flick, when I do a with my finger or a flick up with my thumb. So I'm running across all the strings with my thumbnail, or I'm running all the strings with the back of my fingernail. Other than that, if you look at my strumming hand, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, up. Right? That's how I play right there. Just those two. And up until now, it's enabled me, sorry, I wasn't too fussy on the notes there. I was just showing you the motions of my fingers. But up until now, that's all I've needed. So my go-to thing, let's say hey, Ray, come and play at our coffee shop or whatever for a couple hours. My go-to thing would be I would plug in so that I'm amplified, so I didn't need to really bash my guitar. And this is the way I would pick up my guitar from song one. I'd have my picks handy because there are some times where you really do want to use a pick. But for the most part, start playing songs, it would be, you know. That's how I would play. Okay? Now, I'll still use a pick. I mean, sure. But right away, as soon as I pick up a pick, my palm is engaged. Right? My palm is engaged. It's there when I need it, and I'm always sort of brushing. Oh, okay. Oh, what did I adjust? Okay, what did I adjust? Hold on a second. I didn't adjust anything. So I don't know what that would have been. Is this any better? Volume's the same. Everything's the same. Let me know if that was just a internet thing or if there's something gone weird here. Something off camera to my left. No, I don't, sorry, I don't hear anything there, but. Still weird? Well, okay. Well, I mean, we were pretty much finishing up anyways. Is the backing track? Oh, that was quite a while ago. Huh, I don't know. Can you hear that backing track now? Let me just check something here. Okay, I'm not sure what that is or was. All right. I'm not sure what that was. I just went to check it on my desktop computer, and it seems okay. All right, so once again, this is my thumb strumming. I know what you're thinking. He's not even playing live because it's so perfect. So again, just the thumb, no fingers.
It's not on job title. It's a mindset.
No fingers when I strum, just the side of my thumb, okay? And then eventually, I might do that, okay? So instead of bringing my thumb back up, right? So if I get a little closer so you can see what I'm doing, instead of bringing my thumb back up, like that, once I'm comfortable, like once I got comfortable, I realized, you know what, that's a little awkward on my thumb, especially to get those notes here, those strings here. So I started using my first finger to just go like that. Right? But again, so if I could tape my fingers up, which wouldn't be very comfortable, I don't know if I'd be able to play that way, but imagine that my fingers are taped up. So all I have available is this, okay? No, I can't. Well, I could. I'm not going to have as much of a touch and feel, but so imagine holding something like your pick, let's say, right? Now, with a little bit of practice like this, I'll get my touch and feel pretty quick. But because that's not how I wouldn't have my fist closed like this, right? But I'm doing it to exaggerate it so that you can see that when I strum, I'm wondering if the problem is this converter thing that goes into the bottom of the phone. I'm wondering if that might be the issue, and it cuts in and out. And of course, that would give you a sound. Right now, hopefully, you're hearing everything, the backing track, and it's all sounding like it's coming out of an amp or whatever. But when that thing clicks off, it's going to sound like I'm on the other side of the room because it's just being picked up by the microphone of the phone. I'm using an iPhone today to stream. So it could be that. And I've always wondered that there's an issue here with this. So that could be it. But that's going to be rectified shortly. So, all right. So again, that's it. There's my finger picking style. And if you haven't tried it and you're looking for a different sound, a mellower sound, if you're not happy with your strumming, and you know what? And even if you just want to try something different, because you will at any level, beginners, intermediates, and professional, you'll hit plateaus where you just feel that you're not getting or sounding any better. And sometimes just trying something, just something different. So you might want to give this a try. Let's see if I can kind of get to the side just to give you a better view of what I'm doing. So this is the finger style. Again, only thumb and forefinger are involved. Now we're going to just do a thumb strum. She got a smile, da-da-do-do-do. Right? I mean, it's pretty simple. In fact, when I started doing it, I was very, very reluctant because I thought, this is too easy. Okay? It shouldn't be this easy. What am I doing wrong? And I'm not doing anything wrong. It is easy, but not at first, right? So, you know, just give it a little bit. Get that thumb going. Play your chord, and don't worry about making music or using it in songs, play songs yet, because it's got to be comfortable so that when you do your chord changes, and for those of you that have been, you know, noodling around for 6-8 months, this should be no problem to pick this up, right? It's only those of you that have just picked up your guitar for the first time, you might find this a little bit like, you know, patting and rubbing at the same time, or chewing gum and walking at the same time. But it Yeah, one day it easy, right? That's right. And it's like anything you do. Well, hey, well, thanks, Ernest. Yeah, I know you've been at it for quite some time, and and that just goes to show you that you don't have to be a professional. You don't have to know everything there is to know in order to really play your guitar, enjoy your guitar, and be productive on your guitar. So, and like I always tell you, it can be the simplest, easiest song or strumming pattern or four note box that you come up with. It's not how little you know, it's how well you play how little you know. Remember that. That is so true and it's so important to remember. So again, my first two times around, many here, you played a certain amount of time, and what I would do is I would let's whatever I was learning, I would just do it enough, and I'd be dedicated. I'd be dedicated to learning this, and I'd get it down. But no matter what I did, it just I don't know, it just didn't seem I never stuck with anything. Does that make sense? So I did enough to learn how to go from A minor to C to G. Great. And then I'd think, I've got this. Now I'm going to move on. I'm going to learn triads. All right, let's play triads. Yay, I'm playing triads. And then I would just do enough to learn the basics, and then I'd be off into something else. Power chords, yeah, bar chords. And I'd only do enough to get me by. And by doing that, you end up, and I know a few people like this, jack of all trades, master of none. They can play, they can do anything on a guitar, but they can't play the guitar properly. They don't play full songs. They their bar chords are sloppy because they're missing notes or they're muting out the wrong strings or something's going wrong. But they know how to do it. They just don't do it well. Don't be that person. Okay? Be the person that can do one or two things. If it's more than that, fantastic. But those things that you do, whether it's just playing simple open chords, or it's playing a scale, or it's whatever it is, finger picking or whatever, do it really well. That's how you'll be judged. So if you do one thing really well, and someone watches you, they're going to go, hey, it's good. It's good. Even though that's maybe all you know, right? So, triads, yeah. Looking for new things to flavor chords. Well, for the most part, what that would come from would be your right hand, right? But there are some things we can do with our left hand, okay? So, what I encourage at the beginner level to when you start to thoroughly understand the chords you're playing, and in order to do that, experiment with them while you're playing them. So, again, we're going back to the basic chords here, and then I'll get into a more higher level solution for that in a second, but sticking with the basics and what we learn as beginners. So the first thing that would come to mind would be if we take a chord that we already know how to play and we're strumming it, okay, that's it. Where do we go from here? That's a D chord. Where do we go? Well, we do this. Right now, it's a subtlety, it's a subtle difference, but you can hear it, and it does make a difference, especially when you've got those songs that have 8, 12, and 16 beats of one continuous chord. And there's many of them, like while the singer's singing, he's just going on the D, D, D. I went down to the local store. I saw her standing by the door. She said to me, ba 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 da ba 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 ba. It's all D to the G and back to the D. Yeah. Okay. So what do we do there? Well, in order to break that D up, we could do little things like this. So I went down to the corner store. Standing by the door. Right? So every now and then okay? So how do we know what to do? Well, let's just experiment. So we take a D and we play it normally. Then we lift this finger off and we play it normally and hear what it sounds like. And what do we need to do to make sure that that change we made registers? Well, we may have to concentrate and make sure we hit that open string because it's now open instead of D sharp, right? It's now open, so it's an E. We got to make sure we're not muting anything out, right? Okay? If we're playing a C, take this finger off. You hear the difference? We're actually playing a different chord. When you change your finger, and that's the thing, I don't want to get too much into this, but this is the thing when beginners like me would look up a song and you'd see, oh, C major 7 to a C to a D sus2 and a D sus4, and you're thinking, oh my God, I don't know all those chords. All they're doing is what we just did. So they're going D to a D sus2 to a D sus4 to a C, C major 7, just taking off one finger, adding one finger, moving one finger from one note string to another. That's all that is. So don't be intimidated by it. And the way to figure it out is, again, just play your chords. So we're playing our chords, C, by the book, right? 3 fingers. Then I'm going to put my pinky here on the G string, on the 3rd fret. Right? Let's put it on the 3rd fret of the 1st string. And of course, if you're playing with a pick or a finger, you want to try to hit that note, right? To really accentuate it. Right? Okay, take the middle finger off. Does it make a difference? Well, it should. It's subtle because we're playing an open D now, where before we were playing an E, which is one of the notes of the triad. So we've taken that E off, and it's turned into a D. So that would be some form of a diminished, because we're diminishing one of the notes, right? So again, take that finger off. Take this finger off. What are we playing now? Okay, now we're playing a C, a G, and an E. So we're playing a C triad by just playing these 3 strings. Now, not all of the strings, not all 5 of the strings, we're just playing the 3 strings because we're now playing a triad. Put my finger back on there, I got my regular C, right? Let's add a pinky here, let's add a pinky here, let's add a pinky here. There's so many things we can do. If we're playing an A minor, there's your A minor. Take this finger off. Hear that little subtle difference? Take this finger off. Take this finger off. Okay, these are all little ways. Yeah, you learn. Then that's right. One day it is easy. Triads make the difference. Yes. We're actually getting there right now. A quick explanation of that. So that's the first thing. take your regular open chords, G, take this finger off. Now, technically, this is a G sus something, I guess, or it's a G6. That's another one I've heard. I think G6 might be just the G, but again, it's a G, okay? Take this finger off. I play my G like this all the time, just like that. Or if I'm playing this way, I'll just take that finger off like that. It's the same thing, right? So there's my G. Just play a one finger G, but in this case, I'm probably concentrating on the bass strings maybe. Play them all. Hear the sound. So there's one way of sprucing up your chords by playing and not playing, or not fretting and fretting different strings and notes within the chord and see how it sounds. There will be a chord name every time you move a finger off. It creates a new chord name, but do you need to know it at this point? Who cares? When you get more proficient and comfortable, you can go back and go, okay, what am I playing when I take that thing off here? Oh, it's a C major 7. Oh, is that because, and it's because I'm taking off a root, C, not the bass root, C, this root, C, and I'm adding another note, in this case, what's this? B flat, or I could add a D, there's my D, or I could add a G. I mean, you know. Now, the other way to spruce up chords, some chords are better suited for this than others, but is to just target the triad of the chord. So if you're playing a G chord, you could just target these 3 strings right here. 1, 2, 3, because that's a G, B, and D. There's your G triads. You don't even need your pinky. You don't need any other fingers. You've got 2 fingers. And you're playing those 3 strings only. Okay? Or you could target the middle of the chord. I'm not even fretting because these are 3 open strings. Doesn't matter if I fret them or not. This is a G triad. An inverted D, G, B. Instead of G, B, D, we're playing D, G, B. You're going to get a little different sound out of that. Right? So I can strum it. Don't have to fret it because there's 3 open strings together. G, or D, G, and B together. Played together gives me the G triad. Right? So I could have it strummed like this. So there's the G with the G first, and then the B. Now here's the G with the D first, then the G and B. That's a G. That's a G. 2 different sort of sounds. 2 different voicings is the real name for it, I guess, right? So that's a way to do it. The other way is to completely switch over and start learning and playing triads. Okay? Now remember what I told you earlier, every chord is a triad except for power chords. So again, I already explained this, so I'm not going to go into detail, but the open chord is a triad. The only difference is it has open strings in that chord that still play those 3 notes of the triad. So you're not playing any new notes. You're just playing the same notes, but coming from an open string. In this case, 3 of them in the G. Okay? In a triad, you're playing the same triad with no open notes. So you're only playing 3 strings. So for example, a G major triad, one version would be this. These 2 strings here, that's a G and a D, and then you take your B from here with this finger. And you only, this is so important when you play triads, you only play the strings that you're fretting. 3. That's it. Tri, 3, triad, 3. Okay? Now, usually, especially on this string here, and this is a hard one because you gotta mute it, you gotta not mute it and get those. This is a toughie to play. But when you play these, you generally would pick these out, in my opinion. You don't play them like that, but you can. You can. I'm just saying, right? You generally pick those out. Another triad shape, so this would be a D. There's your D major triad. Do you hear how trebly it is? Because I'm only playing 3 strings, 1, 2, and 3. The 3 highest strings, but that's a D major. Now, if I play the D major here, you'll notice it's a little fuller and thicker because it has this bass D in it, right? Which gives it a little more oomph. But this is a D triad. Now, you can play any solo, any little riff off of any of those 3 notes. Right? That might be a way to go. So now you've got a G triad here that you can pick out, into a D triad here, maybe a C, G. You see, I mean, it's a whole different learning realm because now you've got to learn new ways to play the chords you've spent years playing already. But again, the theory is that once you become proficient and build a guitar foundation, you should have no issues. Because remember the day one that you learn your D chord, it could take some people months to be able to play it and switch to another chord and back to it. It might take a long time. When you've got a guitar foundation and when you do this every day and when you are starting to get proficient, but then you go and learn a new chord shape like this, it's going to be weird at first, but it shouldn't take you months like it did to learn your first chord, because now you're a guitar player. You have a guitar foundation. You've been playing for 6 months, a year. You should be able to, or 2 years or more, or in some cases 30 years and more. You should have the ability to build up that new chord, the new muscle memory a lot quicker. But triads would probably be your next way to go. Yeah. So I do the same thing, Ernest. I have triads. This is how I started my triad journey. The first thing I did, because to play and learn triads, they're in string sets, right? So you're going to have 6 shapes, 3 minor, 3 major, on each set of 3 strings. So that means there's 6 shapes to play over these 3 strings, 6 shapes to play over these 3 strings, 6 shapes to play over these 3 strings, and finally 6 shapes to play over 4, 5, and 6. That's a lot. Luckily, a lot of the shapes are repetitive. Okay, now that doesn't mean that this D here is also a D like that on that string set. That's not what I mean by that. But this shape could pop up on that other string set somewhere else, right? So, for example, what I started with was because I like my open chords, especially G and C, and I've never found an adequate replacement for them, okay? This would probably be the next best. G, because I like my G deep and rich, right? I don't like it stringy like this. I don't like this to be a G. If I'm playing something in a G, I don't want to play that. I will sometimes use this G triad. Sorry, it's this. I will sometimes use that G triad. It's not bad. To the A. D. Right? All right, so let's get back to so what I did was, the first thing I did was I learned my shapes on this string here. Right? And I just chose that that's where I was going to start. And I learned the different shapes. okay? Then I found out, and also second step was to take the shapes I already know, open chord shapes, and play those up the neck. And there are many. D, for an example, is a major triad shape on the first 3 strings. So when I play my D major, I play this shape already, but I add this open D into it. I just remove that. Don't play that. Just play the 3 trebles. Okay? Now, there's my D. Once I go leave home base anyways, I can't play that open string. Because in the D major shape here, all 4 strings, open D, and then the 3 of the triad, okay? When I move it up, say to here, it's a G, right? Or it's an F. Okay, if I continue to play that open string, it changes the chord, because here it's a D with a D. Here, I'm playing the E, but I'm also playing that open D string. It doesn't work. There's no D in an E. So I gotta not play that open string. So you take your D, E, F, G, A, B, C. I think this song, no, it goes, the last part I messed up, but the Van Halen intro to Jump is played. You can play it on triads here, right? So anyways, that's one shape I learned, right? Because it moves all the way up. So now I can play D or F, G, F, A, G, F, E, D, with the shape that I already know. Just make sure you only strum the 3. Then I take the A shape. Now this is where Ernest had, this is what I did, the exact same thing. I use that A shape, that 1 finger A. Okay, now again, the same thing. If I was playing an A major chord like this, I would play the open A, and then these 3 strings. That's my A major chord. But once I move that up 2 frets, it becomes a B, but I don't play this open A anymore. I just play the 3. There's my B. Okay, now listen. B. 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 Pretty close, right? Like, all right, so there's a triad, but I'm using an A to play B. Now, if it worked there, move it up again. 1 fret and you got a C. Just be real strict on what chords you play. Move it up 2 more, you got a D. So now, if I play this triad, which is a D shape, I could play G, D, A, G, D, A, G, D, C, B. And I haven't learned any new shapes. I've just had to rejig how I strum those chords. So, and again, another, while we're on it, we might as well cover them all here. F. Now this F is a triad. I call it an open chord because it's played here, right? It's not an open chord, it's a triad. And what we're playing is string 2, string 3, and string 4. And we're fretting it at fret 1, string 2, that's your C. Fret 2, string 3, that's your A. And fret 3, string 4, that's your F. The triad of an F major is F, we skip the G, and we play an A, F, A. We skip the B and we play a C. F, A, C is the triad for F major. F, A, C. Don't strum any other strings. That's an F. Here's the bar chord. That's an F. Pretty close. Now this bar chord is going to sound richer because we got this F, which we don't have here. Right? We have F, 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 F. So if we fret, if we do the bar, mini bar, F and C, we got F and C, A, and F. We only got F's, A's, and C's, the three notes of the triad. Whether you bar it is up to you. To play a pure triad, I think this is actually called an F major 7, or this is the F and this is the, whatever. All right, so there's your F, okay? If we take that and move it up, we got a beautiful G. Right? So just so you know where this comes from. Here's your F. There's the bar chord. This finger doesn't move, right? Now this finger moves, but the note is replaced by that weird part of our finger that we're supposed to fret it with. And that's why playing bar chords are very difficult, right? It's why Ernest doesn't play them. It's why I don't play them, because I'm expected to put pressure that this fleshy kind of thing is supposed to make an F sharp and a C. And that's hard to do. And then go up there and grab that. Now the ones here is irrelevant because these strings mute this. Because once, just like here, once you hit the nut, that's not musical. That's just a noise. Once you hit, there's the notes. Once we play back here, it's nothing. These notes have canceled out. So the bar is only going to get this one F note right there. That's it. So a lot of people play their F bar chord like this. You're getting your F and your C from this finger. You're getting an A from here, and you're getting a C and an F from here. There's your F bar chord. If you want to be fancy, you can thumb and get your F. And that's movable to G, A, B. Okay, so that's another way of playing a bar chord without the bar. But as Ernest said, the best is the triad. So this here, triad for me, is fantastic. Pick that out. That's an A. To the G, to the A, to the G, to the A, to the G, to the A, mix and match. G, A, G, right? So there's your triad. Yeah, so, yeah, absolutely. Good point, Kevin. So, yeah, when you're playing alone, just like we talked about the percussive muting, remember, we're one person with one guitar. So, in order to sound like a band or replicate the album or the song or the CD, we got to do as much as we can. And what Kevin's saying there is that when you play a triad, I've already showed you that no matter where you play it, even when you play it in the bassy 3 strings, like, so this would be this is a C triad. It's pretty bassy. There's a D. There's a C. There's my open C. Very similar. But what he's saying is you just have extra strings that create extra sound. And yes, you can manipulate one of those strings with a pinky, or like I showed you earlier, removing or hammering on a finger. And that is the proper way for a solo acoustic, because you have more weapons to play with. So the triad, for me personally, 2 reasons I would play and learn triads. Well, maybe 3, but 2 as a first few year player. And really it's if I want just a different D or an F or a C or a G while I was playing, a song. So for example, if I'm playing a C, G, C, D, C, G, C, D, and then somewhere I wanted something different, I'd go C, G, C, G, C, D, G, C, D. It's just something different, okay? The main reason I use a triad is to avoid a bar chord. So again, I use the A to avoid playing the B. This is the hardest bar chord for me. I can play F. I've played F. At first, I avoided it for the first year. But once I learned it, I just found that it worked for me and I can play it, and I do play it. But this is so easy for open chord players because look how close it is to your G, or your C, sorry. So now I can play F, C, F, C. If I want to do it my way or the book way, I'd have to go F, C, F, C, F, C. And you're opening up to mistakes because there's a lot of movement going on. Where this, so much easier. And then because I play my G with my back fingers as well, I can do this. So much easier. There's no turning my wrist over, right? So I'd have to go F, C, G, C, G, F, C, G. That's a lot of movement, okay? It's hard on my wrist. In fact, I'm sore now just doing that. And you're just leaving a can open for making mistakes because you've got a lot of movement going on. Whereas I can play same 3 chords with barely any movement at all. And if you want to know what I'm talking about, to compare it to someone's style, for those of you that know the band America, watch Dewey Bunnell play guitar. I mean, he's a very good guitar player, don't get me wrong, but he's mostly up here, first position, first 4 frets. And you barely see his fingers move, okay? Because he would do things like, what used to confuse me is I'm trying to watch for a C, and I don't see him play a C like that, okay? Because he plays his C like this. So it looks like he's playing an E. That's a C. And then he might C sharp, C, but he's playing a triad. A C triad, right? But my point here is he can play all over here and he barely moves his finger. All you see is you never see the hand moving. Okay, there are other guitar players that do this. I'm just that's the one I noticed. Because when I started to play, I wanted to play America songs. So I was watching them on videos and I couldn't figure out what he was playing because A, he didn't move his hand very much, and B, he was playing triads and I didn't know what they were. So I did not understand when I saw him play this that he was playing a C. So I was completely out of the ball game, right? But so again, then the other reason that I would play triads is if I was in a band or I was at a jam and there was already another 3 guitar players. And I looked around and they're playing G, C, and D. One guy was playing open, open, open. One guy was playing bar, 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 right? Then I could play triad, something up here maybe, G. Maybe even here. Right? And we would all blend in together. Now, there's one other way, or one other good thing when it comes to the triads. But this is for up here. But I'm going to tell you about it anyways. This is when you're really, hi Jeff. This is when you're really, yeah, okay, that's a good point. When you can't sing, because there's two, when you play guitar and you want to be a singer, there's two ways to approach it, right? If you're not a strong singer, you want to make sure your guitar is very strong, so that's what grabs people's attention first and foremost. If you're not the greatest, if you've got a really good vocal voice, then you can just play basic guitar and make a few mistakes because people are going to be focused up here on your voice, right? But one of the other reasons that I would go with a triad is for those of you that like to pick out little note runs and riffs. You can play, if you use the triad as a template, you're on the arpeggio right there. So every finger is on a 1-3 or a 5 in the triad, right? And you can start a lick. So if I'm playing a G here, I know that I can start a lick off of any of these off of those 3 fingers because they're each on a triad. That's really it. And when you see, like, there's people out there that have this fancy software, they put the dots everywhere, and when they say, okay, play me a riff off the triad of this, and that's what they show you. They might show it in the dots of where my fingers are. Well, that used to be a real puzzlement to me because I didn't know my fretboard. And you have to know your fretboard to be able to think this way. And this is where triads come in. So now I've got this A. Where are the triads? Okay, well, the triads, in this case, there's a bunch of them everywhere, right? So we're looking for A, C sharp, and E. So here's an A right here on that first finger, right? Here's an E. Now I need a C sharp, but there isn't one here. The C sharp is here, so I can't really play that as a triad. So if I take this away, I have an A on my pinky, I have an E on my ring finger, and I have a C sharp here. There's a triad. Just by removing the bar and playing a triad of only those 3 strings. Now, if I do this, if I put my finger here, right? So this is the E, and I give up this E. Sorry, wrong finger. This E, but I'm going to replace it like that. Okay, so this E is now free, and I'm putting this where my pinky was. I'm still playing the same notes. A, C sharp, E. There's a triad within this bar chord shape, right? So there's 2 ways to play an A. The third way would be A, what note is that? E, all I need is a C sharp, and that's where my big finger is. So I just remove the back fingers, and there's my A, G. Okay? So off of any of these triads, are little licks. That's really, that's it. That's the only reasons I would play triads. I am like Kevin in that I find triads to be weak and mostly, unless you're playing them here, mostly they're tinny and weak, okay? Again, unless you're playing them on these strings here, C, D, E, F, G, right? And there's some through the middle that are pretty good too, right? So if you got some triads here through the middle that are pretty good. But for the most part, they're tinny and weak. So I'm like him, and Ernest said the same. My first goal was to just use triads or a triad so I didn't have to play the bar chord. And specifically, the bar chords that I was trying to avoid are F, so I play this triad, B major, so I play this triad. Those are my two. I personally enjoy a nice B minor. I like that. But if you didn't want to, you could just play this. So let's take a look at where that comes from. So here's my B minor shape, right? So I've got the A minor, which is here, moved over to. There's a B minor. But I've only got to play the 3 strings that I'm fretting. Now, a lot of times that gets thrown in. You can mute it if you want with this finger, but I don't really worry about it. So here's my A minor, there's my B minor. A minor, B minor. Now you can finger it traditionally. There's your A minor. Full A minor, play all 5 strings. Then cut the strings down when you move up. So A minor, 5 strings. Triad B minor, 3 strings. Okay? Or you can play it this way. You can go in, see there's an A minor there. Okay? So an A minor here, we're playing the A, we're playing the C, and we're playing the E. A, C, E is the triad for an A minor. So I'm using just these 2 fingers plus an open E. If I move those 2 fingers up 2 and put my finger down here on this fret, I got a B minor. Play only those 3. And this comes from here. Look, there's your B minor. Keep that, this finger stays there. This finger folds up and takes this note instead of the B note here. It stays in place. Right? So there's your B minor bar chord. B minor bar chord, right? I want to make sure you can see that. I realized my angle wasn't right, but so there's your B minor bar chord. If I take this finger off and I take the first note, leave this finger in place and just jig that one down, I got a B minor. That can now be, if I want to, a C minor, C sharp minor, D minor. So the ones in your repertoire that you'd want to replace, that's the next phase of learning triads for me was, would I ever want to know how to play a D sharp minor or a C sharp minor or an E flat major or minor? And the answer is probably no, because I don't think of any, can't think of any songs that would require that, although there's plenty that I would want to play. So that's part of it too, right? So what minor chords would I rather know how to play? Well, I'm going to want to know how to play the A minor. So there's A minor. I want to know how to play the B minor. And then this would be C, but I really don't ever need to play a C minor. It's so rare for me. But I do like the D minor here. Right? So that would be like playing B minor. Right? So now I'm playing B minor here, sliding it up to D minor. And then, of course, E minor would be 2 up. Now it's high. Here's your E minor. Nice and low. It's a beautiful chord. Right? But if we play it this way, it becomes pretty high. But it's still an E minor. That's, for me, the triads. So it's D, F, and A. Those are the three shapes for me. And those shapes allowed me to, as I just showed you, replace certain chords that I didn't like to play. So for me, that was B major, or play it here. Okay? B major was the big one that I didn't like to play. That's blah, blah. And F major is the F triad. Just so much easier. The actual, I find that not difficult, but it's everything else that comes before it and after it. In other words, going to it and from it is the problem. Okay? All right, so, well, I think we've covered quite a bit. We started off with finger picking. We got into triads and different chord voicings. And again, it all depends on what works for you. So instead of, for anybody out there that's just in their first few months, your biggest problem is you don't know what to learn. So instead of fitting yourself to the book, make the book fit to you. So in other words, learn your open chords. Enough open chords to get you strumming and to get you maybe on your path or your first basic version of a song. Okay? That's so important. But then figure out, what do you like to do? What do you want to do? What can't you do? What hurts you to do? What makes you sound terrible when you do it? And start eliminating things that you don't like or aren't good at, and or replacing them. So in other words, I can't get that F chord. Okay, let's study, let's get into this, the F triad. And that's where a lot of people, when you're beginning and you don't know any better, you don't think you're allowed to do these kinds of things. And you can do, there are no rules. You can do anything you want that sounds right. But unfortunately, yeah, there's certain things you're going to have to do to make them sound right. Okay? If you want to learn how to play golf and you go to take lessons, the lessons are made up to fit everybody. So the lesson is to get you that when your club comes down in your swing, it hits flush with the ball, straight. So the ball goes straight. If the club is bent one way or another, up, down, in, or out, the ball is going to go that way. But that may not work for you. You may end up doing a Happy Gilmore thing, and as long as, when you come down, as long as that club is consistently straight and hits the ball straight, it doesn't matter if you stand on your head. In guitar, you need to play a C, D, and a G. Well, you know what? There's all kinds of ways to play that C, D, and G, and you just got to find the right one that works for you and still sounds right. Okay? And remember, once you get going, and again, I'm talking to you guys and girls that have only been playing and you're starting out. Right now, everything is hard. But once you get going and you specialize in something, whether it's open chord playing or bar chord playing or triads, and that's where you really want to be, and that's what you work on every day, because you should, then all of a sudden you build this foundation, you're getting confident, right? Now you can do anything. And yeah, there's a bit of a learning curve, but it's not like day one when you can't do anything. Now you can do a lot of things. Now it's a matter of adding something, playing a chord a different way. You'll find that it's a lot easier to be able to do once you have that guitar foundation. Okay? So I always tell people, you got all kinds of times. Most of us here, okay, there's two groups here. One, that they're going to play for 6 months and quit for whatever reason. And the reasons could be anything, but they quit. And then there's those that are going to play their guitar, albeit maybe on and off, like you won't play it for a year, but you're going to be on this guitar for 30 years. Okay? And you may or may not get better. You may or may not learn more. Right? Okay. Once you get to a certain point, learning things is not that difficult because you're not playing like you got two left hands anymore. you're actually able to play. Okay? So it's important that you remember that and you don't get discouraged. Because, again, at the end of the day, if you only know 3 chords, any 3 chords in the same key, you can play all kinds of songs. If I only know E minor, C, or I'm sorry, A minor, C, and D. D, A minor, D, E minor, D, C, D, C, D, C. I don't know. I mean, you can play things. If you only know C, E minor, and G. You can play. If you only know D, A, D, and G, G, A, D, A, D, G, you can play. Right? If you know any 3 chords in any key, you can play. You can play the 12-bar blues or a version of it. You can play like a chord progression. You can sing. There'll be songs that use the 3 chords that you've learned how to play, guaranteed. Probably thousands of them. But you can play. Okay? But if you learn a chord here and a chord there and a chord from this key and they don't really go together, and well, you can't really play. All you can play is those chords. Right? So I have, let's say, an E major. And I got a C. Right? Then I got a, I don't know, a B flat. I mean, they may not go together. I can play them, but I might not get much out of them. You get 3 chords from the same key. Now you can play stuff and start getting creative. Then you start making the book work for you. Okay? Want to learn a B minor? Can't do it? Don't want to do it? No problem. Let's go to the book. All right? And let's learn a B minor triad. And it's what I just showed you. There's one right here. Okay? And I'll play that instead. I'll learn that. Make the book work for you. Don't think you got to know everything in the book. So, all right. So the beginning of today's show is on I've uploaded it to, it's scheduled for tomorrow at 5, I think, to be released, and it's about fingerpicking. And it's going to take you through what we talked about in the first part of this show, how I fingerpick, how it's like a hybrid Travis picking thing, but it's not. And it's worked for me, and I know it'll work for you if you're looking for something different. And we also, again, have talked about the importance of muting, palm muting. All right? And we today even talked about the percussive muting. Just another tool for us solo guys that have to kind of do everything, right? Because we don't have a drummer and a bass player and everything else. So we talked about, that's on there as well, and we talked about that today. But other than that, hey, you know the routine. Pick your sweet spot and polish it. No matter how simplistic you think it is, 2, 3 chords, make those chords sing out loud. And you will go so far with those 3 chords, right? People will look at you and go, wow, you're pretty good. Then start branching out. I say that all the time because it is so important. When you just do nothing but branch out, you end up kind of knowing a bit of everything, but not able to really focus and play well on one area. You want to be able to play something well. And if it's not your thing, you sit it out. Okay? There's already 2 guys at the jam playing open chords. I only know how to play open chords. I'll take this song off, no problem. You don't have to be in on everything, right? You don't have to know everything. You don't have to be the big superstar. All right. Yeah, see, that's right. That's right, Jeff. So that's a great point. Remember, the keys, and I always say that they're in groups of chords make a key, houses in a neighborhood, right? And they all play well together. Well, the thing is, check this out. If your first three chords are G, which is the 1 of G, the C, which is the 4 of G, and the D, which is the 5. You got a 1, 4, 5, 4, 5, 1, 1, 4, 5, right? Okay. Now you go to, that's the key of G. Now you go to the key of D. Well, what's the first chord in the key of D? You already know it. It's D. Right? What's the fourth chord? Let's skip the fourth chord. What's the fifth chord in the key of D? D, A, or E, F, G, A. A. So I go a D and an A. And what's the fourth chord? G. But wait a minute, I already know the G with the D from G, C, and D. So all I have to learn, if I learn G, C, and D, all I got to learn now is A. One chord. Played like that, or played like that. It's your choice. Okay? Oh, that didn't sound right. So, right, so as he said, as you progress through the keys, and you generally, as a beginner, key of G, key of D, key of C, right? And then there's kind of like in A, right? You want to learn the A, D, E. Now the other chords in A are a little tricky because you got B minor, you got C sharp minor, right? So it gets a little tricky. But your 1, 4, 5 in that key is A, D, and E. Right? So you'll find that chords share, or keys share chords. So you don't have to learn, let's say I go, okay, you got to learn the 3 chords from 4 different keys. You don't have to learn 12 chords because you're going to see that many of the chords are duplicate. So that's one good thing. As far as someone also asked me about chord changes, we're going to do a video on that, and I'll do a live show about that. There are so many ways that I see and that I've tried to change one chord to another. Again, there's no right and wrong. It's what works for you. What I try to do is, for example, if I'm playing, I don't know, C to D, right? First thing I look for, is there anything that is the same? Now, in this case, there isn't. So I literally have to go off and reshape. But there are some chords, for example, like D to E major, where instead of doing this, which can cause mistakes, all I got to do is take this finger, slide it back, and move these up. So it's like a pivot. There's my D. Okay? And then for the E, all I got to do is slide that back and bring these fingers up. There's little things like that that I'm going to break down in more detail and cover more chord shapes and changes for you. That may help for you people in your first few months. But other than that, thanks again for joining me. Watch for tomorrow's video. It'll be about finger picking. And we'll see you again at the end of the week. We'll come on live and we'll do something else, all right? So thanks again. I'm working on these little technical glitches. I don't know if it's my end or if it's a YouTube thing, but we're working on it. See you later.